Hi, this is Angela Nampeo, a digital editor at Nation Media Group. On this particular episode, we discuss the bigger than, larger than life Rebecca Kadaga, Mama Busoga, her life, her times, political experience, and her legacy in Busoga. Okay, welcome to Election 26, our podcast, as we go towards the 2026 general election. This particular time, I have with me Derek Wandera, writer, political analyst, if I may say, with Nation Media Group, Isaac Mufumba, more or less the same, writer and also political analyst, critic with Nation Media Group, and myself, Angela Nampeo. This particular episode will be looking at a very notable figure across the country, but particularly well known in the East, where the wise people come from.
Where we come from.
Yeah, the people especially where these wise men come from. So this is none other than Rebecca Kadaga, and I'm just going to tell us a little bit, touch a little bit about who she is, and then I'll hand over to these gentlemen who again come from the East, but also have extensively covered Rebecca Kadaga, and then we can, get into this discussion properly. This lady, Rebecca Kadaga, born 1956 in Mbolamuti village. Maybe Isaac, you can paint the better picture of where this is. Put us in context. Where is this? What would it have looked like in 1956 when this very eminent woman was born? Yeah.
Mbulamuti is in Busoga County. Busoga County, for those who have been following the politics of Kamuli, that was the constituency of Isaac Musumba, the husband to Salam Musumba. That was in Kamuli district. 1956, I think it was a cotton growing area. Busoga is one of those unique places because they were growing both coffee and cotton, and Mbulamuti happened to be one of those places where they used to grow a lot of cotton. So going back to 1956, I would want to believe that she came from
like a relatively wealthy,
relatively wealthy family. Okay. Because in any case, I don't think she would have been able to go to the schools she went to.
Which is where you're going to take us. So where did she go?
I know that she went to Namasagari College, which was one of the really, really prestigious places in schools in Busoga at that time. That is from where she went to Makerere, but the primary education was also around the Mbulamuti areas.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. We really get the picture. I know she became the first Ugandan woman to start her own law chambers. That sort of points to either her ambition or again the affluence of her background. I know that she's been the first president of the Federation of Women Lawyers. That's FIDA. She's a woman of very many firsts.
I think she was also at some point the general secretary of the East African parliamentarians. It's around I think around 2001 to 2005, around there.
Yes.
She was the general secretary, a very big post at that, and also the speakers There's that
Yes.
speakers. I forget the name.
It's a Commonwealth
Yeah.
Association.
Yeah, the
Women,
Commonwealth
yeah.
Association for Speakers. She was a representative for Africa.
I see.
And she was doing very well at that level. I was just remembering the last time I was at her home in around 2017, and you see Mbulamoti is towards the what's that, the next sub county, I forget the name, but you can try to trace the neighborhood, and it still remains the Busoga the way it has been described in terms of poverty levels and things like that. You can see a very outstanding home, but then the neighboring families and stuff like that, you can vividly see how they are struggling. Also, when you asked the question, what would it have looked like in 1956? I was just trying to race with thoughts in my mind, because the last time I went there, we struggled to go to, because it had rained and the road was so impassable, and you wonder what it was in 1956. Definitely, the Alitwala, the Kadaga family. You can view it as one that is not one of those that has struggled in terms of finances and stuff. But then you look at the general environment, the general outlook of the district, but also just her home area, the Mbulabuti.
But she's been highlighted, or at least we've also covered her as being part of very many initiatives: girl child education, tourism promotion. I'm trying to see how she fits in there, and how the area fits in there, and what does her effort look like, Isaac?
If you ask me, one, I think you really would be doing her injustice if you try to look at her effort in isolation, because the problems of Busoga are much bigger than her.
Okay.
And some of these things are really structural. They have to do with government policy. For example, we've had this long argument about the impact that the cooperative movement used to have on Busoga, how it was controlling the marketing and produce, how the farmers were working through the cooperatives to find markets for their goods, how government, had this price control mechanism determining how much a farmer would have to take for his coffee or his cotton and that kind of thing. Then suddenly you open up the markets. But now going back to Mbulamoti, if you've been to Mbulamoti, you'll notice that we still have these Indian style buildings. Yeah, now that is where these Moindis who used to trade in the coffee and the cotton and whatever.
Oh, that was their base.
Yeah, that was their
okay.
base.
Now
So,
that gives me an even
so
better
that is
picture.
how Mbulamoti had actually developed. Now it is after all these changes in government policy and whatever, that it falls on hard times.
Yeah.
So the poverty that you're seeing is actually, the result of that collapse of those structures that had been established.
I see.
Yeah.
I after my Form 6, I had a family member who was staying in Kamuli, and I went and stayed there for about a year, and we used to trade in these telecom companies, MTN, whatever, and we used to move around. And so we moved around most of those areas, the Mbulamutis, the Namwendwas and stuff. We went through all those. But you can, even if we dug way back, we can always trace Busoga. The entire Busoga, just not looking at Kamuli in isolation, as one of the most industrial areas. Little wonder one that came recently was the sugar factory in Kamuli. Is it in Kamuli? It's in Kamuli, yes.
There's also one in Buyende, but there is
that one in Kamuli. and all these efforts have, because of the people who are trying to bring these industries, know the history of Busoga, know the history of, for instance, Jinja, Iganga, Kamuli, and all those, as having been the most industrial area. But then you bring shortly after you bring this factory, very big factory, then just the prices of sugar and sugarcane and the farmers are just dwindling.
Yes.
Whereby a ton of sugarcane can only be bought at about 100,000 shillings and stuff like that. And I think that has had a very big impact on the people of Busoga. And if you asked what Kadaga's hand in trying to bring all these, we've seen her very vocal on, I think for me, out of the speakers I've seen, I think she's my best speaker so far. Those that I've seen.
Yes.
But of course, there are the Wapakovolos and stuff like that. But then you look at that. I think 2 weeks ago I wrote a story where Kadaga was attending an annual kind of consortium of Busoga in the US called Busoga Twegaite. And you look at...
It's a relatively old
relatively old. But then you look at some of their programs that they are trying to bring forth, and the way they are trying to struggle to bring to dig Busoga out of the kind of mayhem they are in. And you see that if you had like 4 Kadagas around,
it would
probably
have a lot more impact. But there's just one of her.
Yeah. I think maybe she's not the only one. I know
but
the kingdom. Yeah, the kingdomship. The Busoga kingdomship has also been working a lot. There are a few other pockets of people, but then the person that stands out always is Kadaga, and her effort is always very clear.
Yeah, hold that thought. We will go back to the other forces in Busoga, but I want to now bring in Isaac on sort of the political experience. Of Kadaga, or you want to add to something
first
else?
of all, I always look at this sugarcane question with I don't know, maybe I look at things a bit differently, but I've never thought that we've dealt with the sugar question, like in the right way. Because you see, people forget that sugarcane is not like your run-of-the-mill product. You'll go to the farm, you walk maybe into Nakawa market the other day, or a Ginger market with your tomatoes or whatever, and
it's not
maybe no, it's not. Like there are only a few people who can buy this particular product. Those are the sugar mills. The sugar mills have installed production capacity. So if you let every person run into sugarcane production without some form of regulation, those are the things you're going to end up with. That is the situation.
Price drop, yeah.
That is the situation you'll find yourself with. That is what is happening here. Because initially, the established millers had put up a procedure. You would only get into sugarcane farming once you were registered with a guy who was going to mill it at the end of the day. Now, because there were few registered guys with the mills, and they were getting a lot of money, everybody thought that was the way to go. Yet they did not have established market for their product. Now, my challenge with the Kadagas and the rest of the leadership in Busoga is that they never told the Busoga, the farmers, the truth. That guys, first register there, so that you know where you're going to sell your cane. Then you can now go into it. It was always going to end up the way it is today.
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bigger challenge looking at the bigger spectrum of economics in the country. Probably if they changed, because then if we have like price control mechanisms, then such things shouldn't be arising, because we see the same problem in coffee, for instance, the same problem in tea. the tea growers are also complaining equally. But for me, I think it boils down to the bigger political and economic question of failing to set prices because of our kind of financial system and stuff.
I see. Okay. I want to take us back to trace Kadaga and how she's sort of gotten here politically. From that woman lawyer starting her chambers. When did she last practice?
I don't know, but it must be really a long time because what I know is that she gets into politics around 1989 when, initially NRC was for the historicals, the NRM historicals. So they make a decision to expand the NRC to accommodate non-combatants, non-historical members of the NRM. And that is how she comes into the picture. They expand the NRC. I think then they create slots for the women to each district to have a female representative.
Some kind of affirmative action.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were about 40-something women who came on board.
Yeah, at that time. Now, this contest was always it's a story that people still talk about. Her biggest opponent, her lone opponent in that race was the wife of the late Dr. Kazungu. Now, these families were a bit close. Actually, Kadaga was considered more like a doctor in the Kazungus. Now, it looked awkward that mother and daughter were contesting, and this was before an electoral college. There were people that felt maybe Dr. Kazungu's wife was the best option, but she thought that Kadaga would be the best person to occupy that seat. So come voting day, she stands down.
She gave way for...
So that is how Kadaga, gets into parliament, and we all know where she has ended up.
By the one thing I just recently I'm writing a story about the history of the constitution in our project, one of the projects, and I don't know. I wanted to interview Kadaga as having been one of the people who were in the CA, and I realized she wasn't in the CA, in the Constitutional Assembly. She was in the NRC. Yes. So she doesn't get into the CA because the system at that time. How did she not
get into the CA?
The system at that time, after the formation of the CA of the NRC, the expansion to the 80-something members from I think 21, who were the NRM historicals. Then they kept adding on. The issue was, we want an elected CA. Constitutional Assembly, but these NRC, most of them were just appointed. So then, if you're going to make a constitution that is representative of the views of the people, then you need to be elected. You need to have even the people who are going to we need to have the people's voices even in the leaders. So that's how. There were only about 12 members who came from the NRC to the CA.
And she was not one of them.
The Ben Watchers, the Ogalo, Dan Ogalo, and stuff like that. Yeah. So she doesn't actually join the CA, and I just found out. I always thought she was. So she was always in. It was always going to be something that she has always been in. But now. So after the election of the CA moves to the Nile Mansion, and then the NRC stays at I forget where they were.
The NRC was always seated in Parliament.
Yes, in Parliament. So that's where they remain, and the others remain the other side.
let me just interject a bit. That CA thing was so far they've been the only defeat she has suffered because
How did it come about, that defeat?
now she leaves Kamuli because even the CA they had seats for women at district level. So I think somebody ill advises her to leave the Kamuli district CA seat. So she goes to contest in Busoga County. I think there was the NRC member for that place was called Majimbi. I forget the other name. There was Isaac Musumba, who was the eventual winner, who went to the CA. Then herself and a guy who was, I forget his name. Oh, Majimbi was Sebastian Majimbi. The other guy was Ngovi somebody, but he had been a personal assistant to Kirunda Chivejinja. Now, of course, now that brought up other issues where people thought Kirunda had actually deployed
Someone
this guy
to defeat
Kadaga and that kind of thing. So eventually, Kamali was represented by a lady called Irene Kalikwani. She was working at the NRM secretariat at that time. So that is the only defeat she has suffered since.
We always actually think that she has never been defeated at all, and she has only she actually faced that defeat. She didn't go to the CA, although she had wanted.
So during that time, she was just in the NRC.
Doing,
other things.
Of course, at that time, before the CA, it was working as a parliament until they formed the CA, and then of course the NRC became a little bit like dormant and things like that. So for me, looking into the politics of Rebecca, she, I think, has been one of the most astute women that we have had in the West, in the East, where the sun comes from.
How so?
And she has how so? Because look at the trajectory that she takes in terms of growth. Probably you would thank that to her legal background, that you become one of the best MPs in the House, and then grow through the ranks to become deputy speaker, and then eventually you become a speaker, and everyone you grow that, even the longer you have stayed. Kadaga has been like wine.
Better with age.
Yeah. That the longer she has stayed in the political circles, the finer she has become. And you can see it even when you go down to the people. There is loyalty down there when it comes to other people. Of course, that loyalty keeps waning. The more you bring your face to us every other day. The people of Busoga, and probably the greatest part of Eastern, has not gotten tired of Kadaga because of the articulate nature that she has, because of the outstanding virtues in terms of politics, in terms of understanding issues of the nation, in terms of articulating our economic question, the land question, and these have been very grounded issues in Busoga. And the way she has addressed and sold Busoga to the fact that now I don't think Busoga is the most maybe gifted with nature and stuff, let alone the River Nile, let alone the hills and stuff. Kadaga has sold that city or that region to become Uganda's biggest tourism centers, one of Uganda's biggest tourism centers. And for me, I give it to her, and that comes with knowledge, that comes with passion that we find in her in that region.
Isaac, what's your take? What do you think her strength has been in this journey?
One of the things, like personally, my assessment is that she kind of got to appreciate where Busoga was, and in terms of the economics and in terms of other services. And I think she also realized that if you didn't try to empower the people, then you would be headed for trouble. So it came to a point where one of the stories that I told is that at some point, some heads of government agencies go complaining to the president. You know, this lady, and that time she was actually the deputy speaker. So this lady has been writing us cheats. She insists on us giving the Busoga jobs and that kind of thing. She's very tough about this. We need her to stop because she's interfering with the process of recruitment. So apparently this thing gets so heated that the president is forced to address it at an organ where she is with other people in government. And she tells the president that, yes, it's true, I write these cheats. But the bottom line is that if that is the only way I'm going to help my people, I'm not going to stop. Now, they say it was an awkward situation because everybody had thought maybe the president would get up and like shout her down or something, but he seemed to back down and let it go. Yeah. So it therefore followed that for as long as you were from Busoga region, you knew where a job placement was. You had the requisite qualifications. You just had to go and tell her, Mama, there is a job in such and such a place. I applied for it. I'm not certain that I'll be shortlisted, but I have the qualifications. Chances were that she would ask for the contact of the head of that agency, place that call in your presence, and ensure that you got the job. So that is why today the farthest end of Busoga, the boundary between Luka and those Budakas, Bugwele, it is called a village called Intaigirwa. So it's possible today that you'll go to Intaigirwa on the boundary between Busoga and Bugwele, and you'll find somebody or two who will tell you, I got this job because of Kadaga. I got my child into such and such a school because of Kadaga. Such and such a girl of mine is in school today because of Kadaga's scholarship. You know, it's just across.
Where did she find all the time and all the... I mean, I'm trying to understand her work ethic and to do all of that and then still do official duties and then attend to all these personal things.
Now, one of the things that politicians in our time have learned is that you have to find time for your constituents. So if you one day you woke up and went to Ndambulamuti on any given weekend when she's around, you're going to find 100 people. At any given one time, 100 people
will be in the house, the yard, the place.
Now, when she was speaker, because at least you used to go to her office, the speaker's boardroom was always full of people on Fridays. She dedicated Fridays to seeing
audience, to
everybody. Other people, maybe on other days you could try to get an appointment to see her and whatever, but Friday, the speaker's boardroom would be full. So she would find time to, and you know, at the end of the day, because you definitely cannot have a lot of money to give everybody. But if you got a job for me, I'll be able to earn my own money and maybe support my family. So I think she realized that maybe that would be one way of deflating,
rather than maybe giving them money or something else. Interesting.
Yeah, I think on that, for me, I feel it was always the passion that Kadaga has for her people. You see, the passion and the leadership ethic that she espouses is the very reason as to why we, the people who are still living in my age and maybe even younger, who have been very keen, will say that during her tenure as speaker, is the only time when we saw the real constitutionalism of 3 arms of government being at loggerheads. It shouldn't be at loggerheads, but a semblance of independence. That she will stand in parliament and stand down on an issue that is being raised by the executive and say, this is not going to happen in this broad daylight. The executive will walk away with anything. A little wonder some of the people who are now in the places she has been are venerating and calling the old man God. She didn't see it that way. For me, I am lucky to have stayed in Kadaga's, to have seen and witnessed in Kadaga's tenure as Speaker. Little wonder that in the last election, in a very heated election, the opposition drove from Kampala and from wherever, and they reached Kamuli and campaigned for Kadaga.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Bobby Wine reached that school. I forget the name of the school. It was Saint something. And he campaigned for Kadaga. And in fact, in that election, there were 3. Kadaga, Proscovia Musumba, Salam Musumba, and a lady called Navile Bridget. Navile Bridget was for Nup. She got 10,000 votes. Salam Musumba got 26,000 votes.
Yes.
And Kadaga got 92,000 votes.
Oh, that's a landslide.
You get?
Really?
If you can get to a place where the biggest opposition party is actually campaigning for you, who is within the system, then it shows you that there is some kind of uniqueness that you bring to leadership, that these people are actually looking for leadership and not just positions and places. When I stayed in Kamuli, you would not mention the name Kadaga. Not just Kadaga. You had to say Mama. Mama Kadaga. If you say Kadaga, someone looks at you and they are
Wonders
it's going to be,
where you're coming from.
It will be very noticeable that you're not from this area. By the way you address the lady. And that for me is the kind of influence that every leader ought to have. Is the kind of influence that
I want to go there just a little bit. Is it too much influence? Is it just the right amount? And I want us to go into the other forces. I know she's been quite influential in the kingdom, Busoga kingdom. I know she's, had influence in a number of other places. Isaac.
Yes.
Let's talk about her influence.
Well, I think her influence is there is something about her personality. You have to give it to her that she's one of those people, like take it or leave it. You have to appreciate that she's a force to be gone with. Her personality is good. I think she's cultured, really cultured. She may have her flaws like all of us. I mean, quick to anger, maybe, like
a bit combative sometimes. Yeah.
But basically, she's a nice person. And then, like I've told you, like she's been able over a period of time to know what is good for her people. And she goes, how out of her way to try and make sure she makes life better. Yeah. Convincing people to go and work in Kamuli, set up NGOs and that kind of thing. She will also try to do her own things, like the girl child education thing, giving scholastic materials to people, trying to make sure people have clean water, all that. And you'll do well to remember that one of our opponents, the other election, was forced to back down. A lady, she's Naira DC, I think she's Mwesugwa something, Deborah Mwesugwa, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Because she had a dilemma on her hands. Her own people in her sub-county were telling her, get out of this race. Because the borehole from which we pick water was sunk by Kadaga.
And here
Now,
you are telling us to
Here
betray
you
her.
are telling us to vote against her. Everybody looks at us like enemies. Because if we have water, it is because of that woman. Now, what do you think you can ever give us? Yeah, so, those small things, things that people may not, me and you in town where we see water from national water, we may
take
not
for
see.
granted,
Yeah, we
yes.
take those things for granted. Those people do not. That's why they appreciate her. And then she's, really the hands-on person. I normally tell people that for me, if you ask me, I think she's been the third most influential person to have come out of Busoga. If you go by...
Please give me the order. Number one.
One, the late Shaban Nkutu. Shaban Nkutu was a minister, minister in Obote 1. The father to our former managing director,
Conrad Nkutu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shaban presided over so many construction projects, but he always made sure there would be something for Busoga. So they normally talk about these 27 hospitals that Obote built.
Yes.
So he made sure one of them.
Is it Iganga?
No, Bujiri.
Bujiri is the one.
So,
okay.
So he made sure as they were putting one in Itojo, I think Abim has one of them. They're all over Masindi, Kidi, Andongo. Yeah. He made sure Busoga got one.
Bujiri. Yes.
Yeah. So, this is a guy who would always make sure Busoga got something in education, in everything. So, that is my most influential Busoga number one.
Number two?
Number two, a guy called Dr. Rivalry Kirunda.
Okay. What's his claim to fame? I'm coming to your list.
Yeah, he was he was Minister for Internal Affairs in Obote 2. And he was a bit notorious, cheeky if you ask me, but he was a Mr. Fix-It. If you wanted anything done, he would be the man to do it. Now, at the time, because of what had happened during Amin's regime, so many things had gone down, like especially the education facilities and what. So this guy comes in, and at that time we had 3 districts, Jinja, Iganga, and Kamuli. So Ruweriza is elected. Chairman Jik, we used to call it Jik, Jinja, Iganga, and Kamuli. So through him, like government was able to do so many things, renovation of those schools, Busoga College Muiri, Wanyange Girls, Kira College Butichi, establishing new ones. You've had these Nkutu Memorial is one of them.
Yes, I have seen Nkutu
I think Bukori College is one of them. There is Bupinga Girls. It wasn't there, but it's also there. And, he really did so many things. The renovation of Christ Cathedral, Bugembe.
Oh,
yeah, Kirunda was like the engine behind that. Yeah, and
it's like an architectural masterpiece in my head, in my mind. Yes.
This thing had been there for a very long time. It would never get finished. Yeah, and he said, no, we have to make a fundraising. Obote has to come here and give us some money. So, like within a very short time, things had happened. Yeah, they worked on the road to the cathedral. They did the road to Busoga College Muiri prior to the fundraising there. So many Busoga, at one point, that Chike side of it. So they had the police recruitment. I think that was 1984. So every region had a quota. Was meant to contribute 1,000 police officers. So the quota for the East, of course, the East is meant to stretch from Jinja to Teso.
Tell
and
me
whatever.
how many were there?
So he tells the guys to recruit to go to Jinja, Iganga, and Kamuli and return to Kampala. So all these other guys, were
they were missing out.
Yeah,
The rest were
the Omarias. Omaria was a big man in that government. Complained the Peter Ties. Said, we didn't see these guys here.
the recruiter. We didn't see them.
He says, Mr. President, the quota for the East was 1,000. So when they went around Jinja, and Kampala, the quota was done. That's it. That was Kirunda. Yeah. So after Kirunda, then I have Kadaga, number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your list?
My list, you'd be asking me for too much
Okay.
But also by virtue of his experience and age.
Yeah.
I am not saying I'm very young, but I'm not very old also too. But yeah, I think Kadaga in my era, because at least he existed. She came into politics before I was born. So I was born, I have been seeing Kadaga, and for me, she certainly becomes the most influential person I've seen in Busoga, because of so many things that we've seen at national level.
If I may point out
level.
something, I did work in Busoga for a number of years, maybe 5 and more. I noticed something, that there was an age, an era of educated, affluent Busoga, who probably, many of them ended up in the diaspora, which is why we probably have a very strong diaspora movement in Busoga. So at some point, I would like Isaac to speak to that and maybe connect it to where we started, of what Busoga looked like then. But go ahead.
Yeah.
The man who has grown up under
I have grown up under Kadaga's wings, because when she enters government in 1989, it took another 4 years for me to be born. Yeah, so I was born 4 years later. But there's so many people who have come from Busoga or even the East that have played a very huge role in the central government, the Chirunda Chivejinjas that I've seen and all that. But I've not seen someone who has been as astute as Kadaga. It's also not surprising that probably that region has been so much led by women in terms of influence.
Or in terms of influence.
Yeah, in terms of influence.
We are actually going to talk about
in terms of influence.
The women of influence.
Yeah.
And we are also going to talk about the other people who are trying to either replicate her style or try to take her place as Mama Busoga and all these things. When we get to that time, I will share something quite interesting. But for me, I think we are getting there.
For me, you look at a person who has played a huge role for her region, for her country, and her region as in the broader region of East Africa. And you ask me to name any 3 women who have done that, and I will not have the other 2 names. Because of her astuteness. Of course, we in 2018.
I can't wait for this story. In 2018.
In 2018, a certain witch doctor dragged the Honorable Kadaga to court for failure of paying her, I think, certain amount of money, and he was asking for about 300 million or something.
I don't remember, but I remember that story.
Yeah. So after the story was published, of course, the calls came through. Can you pull down the story? I don't know whether it was ever pulled down, but for me, the language in the court petition was what caught my eye. So Kadaga came to me, and I worked on her for 3 days, and she refused to pay me. Of course, there are those anecdotes that are so interesting, that also portray her as human, like Isaac has said, who is prone to mistakes, who is prone to, just like any human, like who has her own flaws. But for me, that story was, I'm like, hey, By the way, Busoga has a lot of witchcraft meanwhile. So recently, when the Kamuli LC5 chairman
He died
in an accident, they asked Salam Musumba what the problem was. And Salam Musumba said one of the biggest problem in Kamuli is poison and witchcraft. And it is something that is very wide across Busoga as a region, and probably the entire East.
Which probably ushers me nicely into the next segment, which is all the rivalry. Why is everyone trying to get rid of everyone? What's the problem? But let's talk about influence and who are those other forces, and do they stand a chance even? Can anyone ever replace Mama Busoga?
Maybe we should segment it a bit. One, replace at what level? Because is it at the level of Busoga? Is it at the national level? Is it at the Eastern region? Eastern as in Eastern Uganda? Because if you ask me, if you want to replace Kadaga as Mama Busoga, you're up against a mountain. You can't do it.
Oh, okay.
The boots are too big for anybody to do it. Not in our time, maybe later. And even then, the way the country is moving, I do not see anybody having as much power, as much influence, as much authority. Like even the drive that she has as a person, I don't see anybody having that kind of thing. We are so preoccupied with so many things. I do not see any of us ever coming out to
devote as much time, as much energy, as much passion.
Just interjecting a little. Maybe this is a very unpopular thought from me, but if you have a function in Kamuli or in Busoga, and you called two people, the president and Mama Kadaga, and Mama Kadaga comes, they will not wish the president to come. And if the president comes, they will demand for Mama Kadaga to come. So for your function to be an honorable function in Busoga, Mama Kadaga has to be there. Now, I don't know how someone in their thoughts and mind of minds that can come. Worst case scenario from a different region.
To try and replace Mama
Busoga. But shoot.
So that one, I don't see it happening like I said. What can happen now in the context of the Central Executive Committee elections of the party? That can happen. Because so many things
in the ruling party can happen. Yes,
there's so many things, of course, have changed. Kadaga, of course, no longer has the power that came with the office of the speaker.
Yes.
So now there will be a few people who in the region who will not even listen to her. Now, I go back to her unit one, because the other one, and Mama Busoga, I was talking of the Busoga as a region. But even Kamuli, there will be one of two things. Either she'll get a sympathy vote, or there are people...
By people who remember things, No,
even just sympathizing with her. Why do you even contest against her? Then there are those of us who are just grateful that she did so much. We say, there is no way we can repay her apart from
just
re-electing
giving her in other terms.
So, at Kamuli level, you're not going to be able to do that. You really have to do so much. Rig, do what? And even then, I don't see that happen.
But even last...
At Busoga level, it will not happen. But at the other levels, it can happen.
It's open.
Yes. Because so many other factors come into play. And about that thing that I was talking about, the Mama Busoga thing, you should have seen the way people reacted when somebody said, I am also Mama Busoga. I said, I mean, how? How? I mean, it was a big question. How? Yeah. You just don't
It's
wake up and
unimaginable, in
you just
Busoga.
don't wake up and you say, I am so and so. It's not possible.
Maybe let me even try to paint that whole picture of the contemporaries that have tried to see themselves the way Mama Busoga is, and that's the Honorable Pastor Namuganza. During her heydays, I don't know whether they still are hey.
What happened to them?
And I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
At that time, when she was so competitive about the vice chairperson, Eastern, she was that woman who always poised to bring out the fact that she can be Mama Busoga, and she can cause a lot of tensions around. But what happened to her when you went to Bukono in her constituency? I don't think even Mama Busoga was involved. But whatever happened there, she's still digging herself from out of that pit. The other person is the Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, whom I restrain myself to speak so much about because I have blood ties. But we've seen what has also happened to her. She's not the political person who used to command a lot of respect in the early 90s and probably the early 2000s and stuff like that. And now we're seeing the other person who is coming through, who is now the Speaker of Parliament. And for her now, she can't speak Lusoga. That's a first knockout for her. And she wants to call herself Mama Busoga. Probably Mama East could happen. Like Isaac says, Mama East and the entire eastern part. But the entire eastern part is
made up
of different things, different ethnics, and different political situations.
Yes.
Mama Busoga has sat in all those with a lot of comfort. That she would on any day drive from Busoga and go and attend a rally in Tororo, and she will be vehemently welcomed. And she will cross to Ukedea and come to Mbale, cross to Teso, come to Busia through Bujiri, and everyone is going to put their cloth on the road for her to walk on. And that's the kind of respect that these people are dealing with. And I don't know whether it's going to even have to leave them after that fight. Some of them might come out with a bloody nose, but by virtue of her health now, a little bit more frail than she was maybe in the early 2000s, not so much energetic as she has always been, that the person who speaks with a lot of vigor and stuff like that, probably that will slow her down a little.
But maybe like Isaac said, she still has gratitude on her side. And people who, remember all the things she's done.
Because what some of these things, you just try to paint a picture of what are the possibilities really that could see her maybe go down the drain. But I don't see that happening now. Even if you asked me, I think she has a very, very big voice in this country, especially when it comes to the women issues and the way she has stood for the women and stuff like that, representing the East African parliamentarians on the highest peak of the organ as a woman representative. Is not something that you just take away from her on any day. But everyone will always have their own dance on the floor. But of course, there are those that will leave a mark. And I think Kadaga has.
Yeah, you've spoken very nicely about legacy. I'd like to bring in Isaac. What does it look like? What does the future look like? Does she go into the future with her legacy intact? Do you think she'll come out of this next fight with her legacy intact? And
one, I want to believe that Kadaga's legacy in the history of this country is done. You're not
Solid.
going to you're not going to change anything. It's cast in iron or something like that. You'll need a lot of stuff to bring it down. She's always going to be high up there. This particular election, I would want to look at it as in the same way as I look at that election in March 1994. I do not see her winning it, that SEC election, but I still don't think that will be the end of her. I still think she's still a very useful person. Previously, of course, in Busoga we have a saying that,
Say it in Busoga,
okay.
translate.
Yeah, nti aliyo tibaale lyakunjira alyeguulyaku alivaako atyo. Yeah, is when you find one of those stones in the middle of the footpath, normally they are entrenched. So if you kick it, it's you who gets hurt. It's not that stone that will get hurt. So that's how I look at people taking on Kadaga. I know that whoever has taken her on, she has outlasted whoever has tried. So maybe this time, but even in the short run, those who have tried her in the short run, like in CA, we saw Msumba defeat her in Buzaya, but in the longer run, she outlasted.
She outlasted, yeah.
So I look at it in the same way. Her legacy is up there. Nothing can ever change it. This particular election, I have reservations about it. And if you ask me, I wish she didn't have to subject herself to it.
Yeah, maybe something I was also about to say, that maybe this is a time for change of guard. You're a Kadaga who has painted your picture on the biggest walls of the political walls of this country. We expect that now you probably come out and say, well, I've danced my dance, and every good dancer knows when to leave the stage. And say, well, whoever wants to come through can. Probably she feels in her heart that she still has a lot to give. She still has, yes, she does. I don't know how much she could if she were to just stay at an advisory level or at an elder level where people go to consult from her and stuff. I don't know how much she could give at that point. But I know that she has proven to be one of the best that you can have at the forefront of leadership. We don't know how she can perform in the other. But yeah, for me, I would wish if she were the kind that she isn't, she would have bowed out. But the challenge is that she's a fighter.
And on that note, I would like to close this. Thank you, gentlemen.